1 to 2 minutes to let the people join. Okay, cool. I think we can start now. Hi, everyone. I am your speaker for today. I'm Chu. You can call me Chu. And today I'll be sharing how you can attacking Active Directory. This is an introduction, and if you don't have any experience on Active Directory, it's okay. I will be explaining from the basics. So let's get going. So this is our agenda for today. We will be having our introduction to Active Directory. Then we go with Lab 1, domain enumeration. Then Lab 2, double digest. Then how to dump NTM hash, how to do pass the hash attack, how to do DC sync, how to forge golden and silver ticket for the last 2 labs. So what is Active Directory? So a few months ago, I have my friend send me this tweet. How do you explain Active Directory to a non-technical person in a single tweet? So the most interesting one would be the, let me just share this. Wait. Slideshow. This. Yeah. So how do you explain Active Directory to a non-technical person in a single tweet? You can see in the middle here, it says that you can log into any Windows computer at work with the same username and password, but you can't do it at home. So this is what Active Directory do, right? So what this means is like, if you go to your cyber center of your school, you can choose any computer inside the rooms, and you can log in with your student ID and password of your own. But you can't do that at home. If you want to log in to every computer, you need to create a new user for that account. So let me explain. Let me further explain, right? Okay, so AD is a directory service that developed by Microsoft for Windows domain networks. So this this definition is pulled from the Wikipedia. And if you don't understand how this AD works, imagine this analogy as a phone book where every person phone number, addresses, or business's phone number is stored inside one place that you can search through it. So it stores all the information of users, resources, computers in the network, and it also can be used to authenticate to authorize computer resources that is within the network. So imagine if we don't use Active Directory, like we have 5 computers in front of us. If Bob want to access each of the computer, there he would need to register a new account for each of the PC, right? So, but if we are using the AD, we can set up a domain controller, a DC. Inside the DC, we would create all the users, and we could distribute the users to all the computers by allowing them to authenticate from each computers. So user Bob can log in at each computer without needing to create a new account for each computer. So moving on, the component of Active Directory, right? There is a few components that we need to know. First one is the forest. What is a forest? A forest is a security boundary that consists of domains, trees, and bunch of organization unit, which is the OU. So if you see here, what is the OU? An OU is actually consists of many users or resources inside. We can see here there's a user Scott, user Bob, and we even can add group inside of a OU. So if you can see here, the marketing OU here, we have a sales group, and we can add PC to the OU itself. Why this OU is very beneficial is because that each OU you can assign different group policy to it, where let's say that only marketing people only can access these OU resources. They cannot access other resources. Or maybe you set the group policy that maybe this OU can access another OU resources. So that's how OU work and what OU can be included. And we can see here there is a one-way trust here from domain A to domain C. So what is a one-way trust? Is actually a unidirectional trust that domain resources from domain A can be accessed by domain C. Since this is unidirectional, um, user from domain C can only be accessing resources from domain A. Users from domain A cannot be accessing resources from domain C. So it's unidirectional. So if you see here, there's a two-way trust here, which is a bidirectional, where user from domain B can access the resources from domain A, and users from domain A can access the resources from domain B. So that's the basic components of Active Directory. Oh, and if you have any question, you may put it in the chat. I will answer it from time to time. So why do we need to learn this Active Directory, this Microsoft thingy? Because if you see the news and the articles, we can see that throughout the years, AD has uh, been attacked and compromised from time to time. And you know, from the Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000, 90% of it is using AD. So it is great for us to learn AD on how to attack and how to defend from attackers from attacking the domain. But at this sharing session, I will be just share how to attack. Defend would be next session maybe. Yeah. So let's move on. I already set a lab for this session. I believe you all have the credential being emailed to you. So how this environment look like is we have a DC, a domain controller with a DC administrator user, which this is who we want to compromise. And we have a PC1 where we have user 1 to user 62 being set to accessing this PC. So how do we want to uh, access it? You can navigate to this link. So let me click this link and it will bring you to here. Let me paste the link to here. So you may access this link to using the remote desktop service. So what are you going to do is when you reach this page and you need to type the evilcorp.local. This is our domain, and the username would be the username that is emailed to you, and the password also. So my user was local admin, and let me log in. Yep. Yeah, when you log in, you will see a page like this. There will be a PowerShell app here that you could click, and it will direct you to download this RDP file. So I already downloaded it. Let me just save it again. And then let's moving on back to the slide. So there's two ways that you can connect your RDP file. One is by modifying your etc host file or the RDP file itself. So I'll be demoing two methods on how you can RDP into the file. Yeah, we have some DNS problems. So we need to use some alternative ways. So the first way would be modifying the etc host. Do note that you would need to modify the the either etc host or the RDP file to able to proceed with the lab. If you didn't do so, then you will not be able to continue with the lab. So let me show you with the host file first. So you need to navigate to here, and you can do Windows System 32 drivers, and there's etc and then host. So you can edit your notepad, and then what you need to add is the IP and the target of the PC that you're going to access, which is pc1.evilcorp.local. Send it to, yeah. Chat already posted here. You can modify by adding the IP and the host name. So if you don't want to modify your etc host, what you can do is you can go to your RDP file and you can open with Notepad. What you are going to find is the full address of this file, and you need to change the value to the IP itself. So the IP is 20.222.204.200. Replace this, save this, then close it. Then you'll be able to access. Click yes for the certificate. And you can, after it pop up, then you will see a PowerShell program will pop up. Give it a second. Yeah, you see something like this. Is everyone okay? If you are not okay, then you may put it on chat also. I see nothing in the chat. I assume everybody okay. I will be moving on. Oh, can you show this step to configure? Yeah, sure. What you need to do is you need to navigate to your C drive, Windows, System 32, then drivers, then etc, then the host file here. So host file would be looking like this. Yep. So you can uncomment this. Yeah. You can edit like this and save it. Either one is fine. You can do either one is fine. There's two ways to do it. Much more recommended would be modifying the IDP file. Okay, so you need to navigate to this. Let me sign out. You need to navigate to this link, the RD web, and you need to log in using the credential that has been sent to you through email. And then let me log in. Then you can see there's a PowerShell here, PowerShell program here. You can download the RDP, and then after you download it, you can right click, open with your notepad, and then the full address here originally is the host name of the PC, which looks like this. So you need to modify this line, the full address, and change it to the IP itself. Like this, and then you save it, then you are good to go. Do note that you need to click this PowerShell to download the RDP file. Yeah, I will wait for 1 to 2 minutes. If you're done, then kindly put it on in the chat so I can move on. Did not receive the credentials. Yep, you are using the same cred when they request the credential. Exactly. You're using the same credential. So after you open it, you should see something like this. Yeah, the credential has been sent through email. You should receive it. Let me let me demo it again on how you can log in. Oops, one moment to log off. Okay, so here you will be receiving your creds, right? What you are going to do is, I forgot to mention one thing. You should put your creds here, and behind your credential, you should put the at evilcorp.local, the domain itself. The the username should looks like this. And then password is just your password. Yeah, I missed a step. My bad. Okay, cool. Everything working? Is everyone okay? If it's not okay, then wait, put in the chat. Okay, let's moving on. When you got this, right? When you got this or the shell, right? What you need to do right now is you need to elevate yourself to admin rights. We have assigned everyone to being an administrator. The command you need to type which is start process, PowerShell, then verb, then run as. This command would start the PowerShell as an administrator mode. So if you hit enter, you can see it requests, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Click yes. Then we get the admin rights shell. You should see there's an administrator on the top of the window. And then you can close this old shell. We will be working on with this shell from right now. Okay, at the meantime, let me continue my slide. In the meantime, so before we really begin, some disclaimer here. So do not execute any type of malwares or viruses to the PC as it would disrupt the session, and do not harass, troll, or mess with other users, and only use a credential that distributed to you. At some point of the lab, everyone would see each other credential. So yeah, do not mess with each other. Just use your own credential. Okay, if everybody ready, I'll be starting lab 1. Is everybody ready? Configuring remote session taking a while. Okay, we can wait for a while. Maybe 1 to 2 minutes, then we are going to start. Okay, I see a question. Is this how a real attack to AD usually begins? Um, I'll be explaining how this AD attacks, how this AD really works. Attacking AD actually is a post-exploitation where you compromise a system, from there, you further pivot and doing your lateral movement to other PC or servers to further compromise the whole network. I'll be explaining at the end of the session. Yeah, the AD is attacked from inside. So you must have a compromised system. Only you can attack from there. Okay, I think we have stalling enough time. Let's start for the lab 1. So lab 1 is the domain immersion. We will be using the power view. So if anyone don't know what is power view, let me show you. Power view is a recon module by PowerSploit. PowerSploit is a uh, bigger module, main module that consists of a lot of, you can see here, module antivirus bypass, the exfiltration, persistent, privilege escalation, recon. We're using recon this time, and we are using power view. Okay, so I think I'm going to use the PPT here. I won't using the slideshow. It's more easier to navigate. Okay, so here we can see, okay, let me just do this. Okay, right now what you are going to do is you are going to navigate to C drive, and you would see there is a tools here. The tools that I prepared for this session, all the tools that is going to be used in this session. So navigate to tools. You can see there is a Mimikatz master file and the Power View file. So first we are going to use Power View, and we are going to import it. There's 2 ways of importing. One way is using the dot sourcing method, which is dot slash, and then we can do Power View. We can do something like that to import. Another way, if you do want to use the dot sourcing, you can use the import module, and then Power View, something like that. I am going to use a dot sourcing, so Power View, and then if it does not prompt any error, in case like this, it says that is successfully imported. If you have some, let's say that you are attacking a reverse, in a reverse scenario, you stumble across there's an error. It says that execution policy is not allowed or something like this, some error like this. It says execution policy. What you can do is you can bypass the execution policy, which command like this. So what is this execution policy is that it's not a vulnerability, is intended to being bypassed like this. The purposes of this execution policy is to prevent user from accidentally executing the script. So you can just PowerShell -ep means execution policy, then bypass. Then you can see there's a new shell here. Let me import again. Yep, we have imported. We can start our lab 1. So if you want to see our current domain, what this PC under what domain, we can do getNet domain. We can do getNet domain. Oh, fun fact, right? If you lazy to type the command, you can type half of the command and then you press tab. Then you can see here, there's a lot of command being shown. So you can do domain, yep, like this. Then you press enter, you can see evilcorp.local is the domain we are currently under. And then the domain controller would be the serverdc.evilcorp.local. We can also see the domain mode level is 7. And we don't have parent because this is not a child. We only have one domain, which is evilcorp.local. You can see here the ID role owner, the infrastructure role owner, all belongs to the server DC itself. DC means domain controller. So if you want to see the seed of the current domain, which is this, just type get domain seed. Okay, so you can see the seed here. You might want to copy this seed and put it somewhere else, preferably a notepad. So notepad, domain seed, because we are going to use it later on. So you must be asking, what is this seed doing here? What is this all about? So seed actually stands for security identifier that identify all the security entities of the domain. So every user, every resources under this domain has a unique identifier that represent them. So the domain also have a seed, which is this one. And then if we want to get a list of users in the current domain, we can do getNet computer. If you do getNet computer, you can see there's under this domain we have 2 PC. 2 PC only. And then if you want to get all groups, all the groups in the current domain, we can do getNet group. GetNet group. You can see these are the group that are present inside this domain. You can see users, remote desktop users, administrator, domain admins, domain users, domain guests, and so on. There's a lot here. And if we want to get all users property in the domain, we can do get user property. So let me clear this. You can clear the screen by typing clear or CLS, both works. So get user property, we can see there are quite some property here that are account expires, admin count, bad password time, bad password count, and password last set. What we can do is we can do something like get user property, not user event, user property properties. We need to specify this parameter properties, and we need to specify which property that we are going to see. In this case, we are choosing this bad password count. So bad password count, we can see the bad password count of the user. Currently, there are none for this user, but you can see for the Kirby TGT user and the guest have 44 bad password count. We can also see some, let's say, bad password count, password last set. We can see all the users password last set. You can see the user their last set password is when. So attacker normally would target the bad password count. Let's say the user tree has a lot of bad password count. Normally they would uh, target this user to attack. And then attacker will also see when is the user password last set, so they can filter out the users that often change their password, so they can shift the target of the attack flexibly. And moving on, if we want to get all the groups that contain the keyword admin, we can do getNet group admin. Let's say that normally in real world scenario, you have a lot of groups, not GPO, one moment, getNet group. There are more than this actually, if it in a real world scenario. If you want to filter, you can do something like admin, like this. I think getNet group admin. Admin S. Yeah, you could see here there's a schema admins, enterprise admin, domain admins, key admins, and so on. So you could filter the result like this. If you want to get all members in the domain admin groups, we can use getNet group member, specify the group name, and then the group name itself. So clear this screen, getNet group member, and then the group name, domain admins. You can see here currently only have one domain admins, which is the DC administrator. There's only one here, so you can see the member set, the group name he's under, the domains is under. Yeah. And find share files on the host in the current domain. So this is to find the interesting share folder to see whether there is an interesting share folder present inside the server. So we can do invoke share finder, and we need to specify the verbosity to on. So verbose, and let it queuing. And you can see this PC1 admin folder, C folder, D, and the server DC one, the default share, and so on. And then lastly, the find sensitive files on the computer. We can invoke file finder, which find the sensitive file. Invoke file finder, and we turn the verbosity to on. You can see there are few files here that is very interesting. You may check out yourself. Okay, And yeah, that's all for lab 1. Okay, it's working. Okay, right, nice. So what we are doing right now is we are actually exfiltrating and valuable information out of this domain to further the breach itself. So this is actually already considered a data breach. Is everyone okay with the lab? If anything you don't understand, you can ask. Okay. Okay, let me continue with lab 2. So lab 2 with W digest. So what is this W digest is uh, at the early Windows XP era, we have this W digest protocol installed in this Windows XP. So for the developers to make the authentication more convenient to the end users, they actually decided to cache the clear text credential on Windows memory. And then when users log in, the credential will be shown at the Windows memory. Users could use something like Mimikatz, the tools Mimikatz that we are going to use later on to extract the password to perform the pass dash technique that is on lab 3. So this W digest protocol has been disabled default starting from Microsoft Server 2012 and Windows 8.1. So what we are going to do now is we are going to reproduce this clear text credential, this vulnerability. So how do we reproduce it? We need to add this registry file to the registry itself. You all don't need to do this because only need to do once. So I'm going to do it and I will be explaining what is this command all about. So let me copy this. Let me copy this and then let me explain like this slash. Yeah. If you don't understand certain command, right, you could do like, let's say we are using rec now, rec is registry, and slash question mark to show the help menu. So we can see here we have rec query, add, delete, and all that, right? So what we are going to do now is we are adding things. So if you do rec add slash question mark, we can see there are a few parameters here. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it here. So we can see here, let me enlarge a bit. I think it's a bit small. 18 should be fine. Yeah, if you see here, IG add, right? Then this is the folder that we are going to add. And if you can see here slash v means the value name under the selected key to add. And then the slash t is what the registry key data type that we are using. We are using dword, and slash d is the data to assign to the registry value name. So we are basically putting 1 as value. So enter. Yeah, the operation completed successfully. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we all are going to log off to sign out and log in back again. Why we need to do this is because that this W digest need users to log in back only to make this clear text credential shown inside to store it inside the window memory so that we can extract it later on using Mimikatz. So everyone, you can log off, and then you're signing out, then you need to log back in again. Okay, let me grab my password. you need to log off, and log off command would be yeah, sure, I can paste the command here, but this operation only need to be done once. But yeah, sure, can paste it. Here you go. So once you log back in, you need to do the same thing again. You need to do the start process, PowerShell, and you need to start as the administrator. Yes, yes. This can close. We are back to here. Navigate back to the tools, like so. And if everybody done logging off and logging in, I'll be proceeding here. So what you are going to do now is you need to navigate to the Mimikatz. So cd Mimikatz, and you can see a few files here. We want to go to x64. Just clear it. Yeah, you can see here there's a MimiSys, MimiDrive, Sys, Mimikatz, exe, and Mimilib. What we want is this mimikatz.exe. So you can do /mimikatz.exe to launch the program. Wait for a couple seconds. If you miss a step, you may refer to the chat. The chat has full guide of instruction on what you should do from time to time. Okay, let me continue with the Mimikatz itself. Okay, after we launch our Mimikatz, we first need to have this debug privilege. So we need to do privilege :debug. Yeah, that's how. If it shows that 20 OK means it's successfully executed. And the second command we want to use is we need to use the SCK-URL-SA module and logon password. So if anyone wondering what this does, is we're actually using the SCK-URL-SA modules. You can see here the module is this one, and then below here is all the commands that you can execute. What we want to use right now is the logon password, which lists all the available provider credentials. Okay, so what you need to do is type back the module name and logon passwords. And you can see there are a lot going on in the background right now. They are dumping everything because we have 62 users in this domain, and we are now dumping everything out. And if you want to see here, you can use Control F to find your username, which is user X. X notates your numbers. Let's say you are user 1, then you can do user 1. You can find your credential here. So in my case, I'm using local admin. Local admin. Yeah, there we go. So we can see here, we can see for the W digest output here, we can see the password, the clear text password that is prompted out at this Mimikatz. And another disclaimer, everyone password will be shown here. So each of you would see each other password. So don't mess around with each other, just use your own credential. So this is my credential. This is my password for my account. And you can see here is listed clearly here. So that's how this W digest protocol works at the early Windows XP era. Oh yeah, and one more thing before I proceed, you may need to Control F to find the DC administrator user here, which is here. Yeah, we will need to grab the hash, the NTLM hash, which is this one of the DC administrator. You may want to store this hash somewhere to further the lab, because we'll be using this hash later on. So DC administrator hash, you can use Control F to find it, but if you don't want to do so, I can put the hash in the chat so everybody will be accessing it. Okay, so let me proceed with the lab 3. So dump NTLM hash. So before we dumping NTLM hash, we need to understand what is NTLM hash. So the hash actually evolved from 4 stages, which is the element hash, NT hash, NTLM-v1 hash, and NTLM-v2 hash, right? So what is LM hash actually? LM hash is the oldest password encryption that used by Windows. It can be easily cracked. Why? Because it has limited char set. So example of char set would be looks like this. It's very short. And the algorithm of the hash itself, you can see here, user password is restricted to 14 characters. That's the worst way to limit the password, how to say, the password length that user can be tapped in. And then it converts all the password to uppercase, meaning that if you put lowercase and uppercase, there's no use. They still convert all the password to uppercase. And then the password is now padded to 14 bytes. And then it separates the password to 2 7-character chunks, meaning you have 14, right? It will split it half, so make it 2 7-character chunks. And then it using this DES encryption to encrypt the password with this string, this particular string, with the 2 separate chunks. So if anyone doesn't know what is DES, I can show here. DES actually is a encryption that is a block cipher that encrypt text block by block. So we have block cipher and stream cipher, and then this is a block cipher. So you can read it up yourself. What is a DES encryption, data encryption standard, and then after using this DES encryption, encrypt the 2 chunks, right? They will concatenate the 2 of the DES encrypted output together, and then here's the LM hash produced. So it's very not advisable to use this hash because it's very likable to be cracked and it's very weak. So the second stage of this NTLM hash evolving is the anti-hash. Is the ways of nowadays modern Windows system using to store the password. And then you can actually get the hash by dumping the SAM database by using Mimikatz that we are going to do it later on. So here's the example of the hash here. It's not much of a difference, but the algorithm used is different, which is using it encrypt using the UTF-16 LE. LE here means little endian. And then after it encrypt using UTF-16, and then it encrypt again using MP4. And then the third stage of the hash is the NTLM-v1. Is actually using the protocol, the challenge response protocol between the server and client. So it's much more complicated and it's actually harder to crack. So you can see here it's using the 3 different sessions of DES to encrypt the key to produce this NTLM hash. Same goes to V2. V2 actually is the same concept with V1. It's just that it's harder to crack. The encryption algorithm used is far more complicated than the previous one. So that's the introduction of the history of the NTLM hash. Now we are going to dump the NTM hash of this PC itself. What we are going to do now is we can exit the mimikatz, can clear this. And what we are going to do now is we need to navigate to our own user directory. So we need to go back to C and we go to users, and we can see here there's quite some users here. You all need to navigate to your own user directory. So mine is local admin. So local admin, yeah, and then we go to desktop, and this is where we are proceeding. What we are going to do now, we are going to save this SAM file and system file first, and then we only can dump the NTM hash of this PC. How to save it? We can do reg save. SAM file is hklm/sam, and then where you want to save is your current directory itself, which is /. The dot means your current directory you are in. So /sam. Then same go for the system file, hklm system, and then same thing, system. Yep. Operation completed successfully, and then yeah, and then some of you might ask what is SAM. SAM is a security account manager. It's like a account database for Windows operating system that stores all the users' password inside here. So we are using this to dump. And then you now need to execute your mimikatz from your directory. What you are going to do now is writing C, then tools, mimikatz, master, then x64, and then mimikatz.exe. Do note that you need to execute it from here, because later on we'll be logging the output of the NTM hash. So because we don't want everyone to be accessing the same directory, so that it will be overwrite over and over again. So we are doing it at each user's directory. So execute it. And then we are now need to type this command, lsa dump. We are using the lsa dump module. You can see here, SAM, secrets, cache, LSA. We are using the SAM module, decrypt the SAM entry. So we are doing LSA dump, SAM, and then front slash, is it? Yeah, front slash SAM, then specify the SAM file, SAM /system, specify the system file. And then, yeah, you can press enter. You can see their credential being down here, which is client admin. Because this PC only have one local user, so you will see only one, which is the local admin, the client admin, sorry. You can see here there's a NTM hash of this user and other information of this user. Yep, that's how you dump the NTM hash of the current PC. Yep, that's how you dump it. That's all for lab 3. Is everybody okay? Oh, the commands in Mimikatz is, let me clear my screen. Is this Setam, Sam? Yeah, you can see in the chat, it's already been sent. I'll wait for you. No worries. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we dump the hash to get the local PC users hash. That's the purpose of dumping NTM hash. Because yeah, because we don't know the credential of client admin, right? Let's say that we have bunch of local users inside this PC, and because we don't know the credential of the users, right? So by dumping this SAM file, we can get to know the NTM hash of the user. I'll be explaining what's the impact of dumping this credential, this hash. Uh, why is it so impactful to have this NTM hash get leaked or get uh, publicly leaked? Yeah, here's how you can get the NTM hash right here. Okay, that's all for lab 3. Let me move on. Let me move on the pass hash attack. So like just now, right? Uh, you ask why we want to dump the NTM hash, because we can steal other users' NTM hash and impersonate the users to do authentication. So if the attacker is like having a hash of the user, right, it's enough to execute the attack. They don't even need to know your password for the account. So somebody maybe say that, oh, it's just hash get leaked, but hash is actually as important as the password itself. It's not that when password leak only that says that, oh, password leak, everyone must change their password. If hash leak, then no need to change your password. But hash is as important as password. Yeah, that's the bottom line. So yeah, what we want to do right now is we want to use the DC administrator NTM hash to do the pass the hash attack, which using this command. So I'll be explaining this command in a second. So if you can see here, before that, if we want to access the server file of the server DC, you can see the access denied because we don't have enough permission for that. But if we execute this pass the hash attack, then we are able to accessing to access this server DC directory. So let me show you right now. Let's say that, let me exit this mimikatz. Let's say that we want to access 10.0.0.4. Oh, by the way, you must be asking why I know the IP of the domain controller. So let me show you this. See, give me a second. I'll go to showcase this one. Let me import back the power view. Getnet domain controller. Okay, we can see here the getnet domain controller actually shows us the information of the DC itself. So we can see here what's the DC is under the domain and the current time, the OS version, which is the Windows Server 2019 data center, and the IP address. That's how I know the IP address of the server DC. So if you're trying to access the 10.0.0.4 and then see $, you can see we have no access. We don't have enough permission to access this server DC directory. And that's why we want to carry on this pass dash attack. How we do it? Okay, let me copy this. Put it here. So, okay, we are using this SDK URL SA module using this PTH command. PTH stand for pass the hash, and we need to specify the user. User would be DC administrator, because that's what we get the hash of the DC administrator just now, right? This user, right? Of the server DC itself. So we need to specify this slash user and the domain. The domain would be the evilcorp, which is here, evilcorp.local. Let me copy this, put it here. And then the hash that we want to impersonate is this hash. We want to impersonate as the DC administrator. So copy this, put it here. And lastly, the run, which what type of program you want to run. In this case, I'm running, let's say CMD to make it a little bit different. So /run CMD. Copy this. And then go back to Mimikatz. You can navigate to tools, back to tools. No need to execute the Mimikatz at your desktop directory. If you want to, also can, no problem. There's no difference here. So Mimikatz. And then we want to paste this command. And then when we paste it, we can see that the ticket has been, means this already successfully generated. We can see here there's a new window pop up. And if you do who am I, we can see we are still our own self, our own account. But if we do ls, I mean DIRs, command line don't have ls. They only have dir. So /10.0.0.4 and $C. We can see that we are able to access here. If I exit this Mimikatz and access the 10.0.0.4 directory again, we can see access denied. But here is successfully accessed. To further clarify that we have access to this directory, we can do something like type. Type means you show the output. So type 10.0.0.4 $C flag.txt. I have put a flag here. So you can see here, hi, you found me, and here's your flag. So this is to further clarify that we have the access to the server DC directory. Okay, so yeah, that's how we execute the pass dash attack. And you may be noticing right now that this console, right? If you close it, then you have no longer have access again. Then you may need to execute Mimikatz again, and then run the same command again to get a new instance. Okay, why are we targeting server DC? Okay, let me show you. So, here. Okay, based on this topology, right? We only have PC1 and domain controller, right? So DC actually is the core of the entire domain. So we most likely to target the domain controller itself. But in the real world scenario, right, you may not so lucky to get like one step to reach DC. You might have a long way to go until you reach the DC itself. So with DC, right, in a typical setup, we can control all the users, resources, and the system that is connected to the domain. So in order to compromise the whole domain, we first want to target the DC itself. But in real world scenario, maybe you need to like from PC1 jump to maybe somewhere, another admin, then you need to from that admin jump to another admin, and then you only can reach the DC. In this case, we only like let's say like just one step to the DC itself. Yeah, in real world scenario is a bit different. Okay, hope I answering your question. Am I? If I'm not answering your question, I can do more clarification. Yeah, thanks. Okay, where we were just now? Yeah, we are here. So yeah, everyone could access here. And yeah, this is the new window we pop up to show that this is a or this is where we can access the DC administrator directory. And then let's close it. We actually no need to close it. Let's just let it run because we are using it at the next lab. And let's move on to the next lab, which is the DC sync. So DC sync is actually a feature in the famous tool Mimikatz in LSA town module, which is used to pull all password hashes from the targeted domain controller. So when we executing DC sync, we are normally targeting there's one user called Kirby TGT account, KRB TGT. There's account. Why we are targeting that account is because that all the users hashes is stored inside the user Kirby TGT. So normally when we successfully compromise DC, right? Like just now we successfully compromise the DC administrator. We want to next target the Kirby TGT. Why? Because it stores all the credential and hashes of the domain users, and then it's very painful for system administrator to have their Kirby TGT user account being compromised because they need to change the password one by one. So it's very pain. Okay, so here is very simple command on how you would want to dump this Kirby TGT, the hashes from the Kirby TGT user. What we are going to do here is just now we are having this shell, right? Navigate back to the tools. Oops, no ls, dir, mimikatz. And execute the mimikatz. Okay, from here, we want to dump the Kirby GTG user, right? We can do LSA dump, DC sync, and specify what user, which is Kirby TGT, and we can see here there are all user hashes being dumped. Oops. Give me a second to adjust my window. There we go. Okay, let me show you here. Yeah, you can see here the DC administrator. This is a user, right? And then this is the credentials. And then if we have, let's say, yeah, we have the Kirby TGT user. And you might want to grab this hash that we are going to use later on for the golden and silver ticket. So let me copy it and put it somewhere else. Put it here. So Kirby TGT hash. Yeah, you might want to have stored it somewhere else. And then you can see here, there are all users from the domain is being shown here, all the NTM hash. So anyone can use this hash and then use the password hash attack to access the directory of other users. Yeah, we want to grab this Kirby TG hash and one more hash we want to grab, which is the, let me find the hash. We want to find the file system hash, which is F server DC. Yeah, there we go. I need this. Okay, so what is this server DC $? This is actually a share file for this server DC. So we need to grab this NTM hash so that we can forge a silver ticket later on by using the CIFS service. So if you see there is a server DC $sign here, this is a CIFS service. You can grab it. Hash here. CIFS. Let me just put server hash service. Okay, if you look carefully, there's a lot of service actually. If I do MS SQL, and to pull up, let me send the hash. Let me send the hash. One moment. And then if you find, you would see there is another MS SQL service here, and the HTTP service here being shown. And then the hash also being shown here. And then we actually can use the MS SQL service to forge a silver ticket, and then we will have the admin to the MS SQL server. But this is not covered in our lab today, as we are using the CIFS service for today. So yeah, there's 2 hash you need to grab, and then you can exit this entirely. And then we can move on with the lab 6. Lab 5 would be like just like this. It would be just decising attack where you thumb the Kirby TGT the hash or the hash of the user, and we want to grab this Kirby TGT hash to forge the golden ticket later on. Yeah, and then we left lab 6 and lab 7. And before we moving on to the lab 6 and lab 7, I'll be explaining how this Kerberos work. And Kerberos actually is Kerberos actually is a authentication software that authenticate client to access the service. So you can see here I have made a simple diagram which client would first send the username and password to the KDC, the key distribution center, to authenticate themselves. And then if the authentication is successful, the server will reply back the TGT, the ticket granting ticket, with a session key inside. And then client will send back the TGT to the KDC again to encrypt to encrypt the ticket with the Kirby TGT hash to request a TGS ticket. And then after the KDC done that, they will send back the TGS ticket to the client so that they can use the TGS ticket to access the application server. So you can see here, encrypted TGS ticket is sent back to client, and then client uses the TGS ticket to access the target server. That's how the Kerberos work, where you first need to verify your username password, then they will send this TGT back to you. Then you need to send back this TGT to the KDC to encrypt the ticket with the Kirby TGT hash, and then it will produce a ticket called TGS, the ticket granting service, and then it will send back to the client. Then the client can use the TGS to access the application server. So lab 6, golden ticket is signed and encrypted with the hash of Kirby TGT, like I said just now. And then DC will not check for validation until the TGT is over 20 minutes. We can forge the TGT freely once we compromise the Kirby TGT account hash that we have just now, this one. Okay, how do we forge it? But before we forge it, I also want to making clear that right now we can't access that. Let's say that we want to access the server DC .evilcorp.local $. You can see access 59. We don't have enough permission. But after we carry out this golden ticket attack, then we have permission to access the server DC file share. So let me copy this, put it here. Okay, so Kerberos, we are using Kerberos module, golden command, and then user who we want to impersonate. We want to impersonate as DC administrator, right? So DC administrator, and then domain. What is the domain? Domain is evilcorp.local. And then what is the SID? The security identifier of the domain itself. So we have copied it earlier on, which is this one. And yep. And then the copy TGT hash. It's here. Yeah, and /ptt means use it in this session. Do not save the ticket on the drive. So you may specify other command to save the ticket on the drive, then you use it on later time, but we are using PTT right now. PTT means using at this session. So copy this and let me put it at the chat. And we use makats, paste it, and we can see ticket for the DC administrator is generated. So if we exit and we access the same thing again, we can see we are now able to access the file share of the server dc.evilcorp.local. Then we can do type and server dc evilcorp local c flag. Yeah, we can see we are able to read the file. And if you do klist is a command that able you to show the ticket. We can see the cache ticket here. And here we can see we are impersonate as DC administrator. And we can see the server is using Kirby TGT, using this Kirby TGT user to forge the TGS ticket. So we may access the file share. Okay, so before moving on to the lab 7, which is a CV ticket, we now are able to access this file share, right? We now need to purge the file share. What we are going to do is klist, then purge. So we are deleting all the tickets. And one more step that you need to do is log off and log in again, because in order to klist to be updated, it cannot be updated at an instant. So you need to log off and log in again. So if you see klist, although it's already cleared the ticket, but you can see here we are still able to access the file share. So you might want to log off and log in again. So log in. Where's my... So up until now, right, you must be thinking, isn't it this is the same thing, right? Like we are actually accessing the file share of the server DC, right? What we are doing right now until up to right now is the same thing. We are compromising the DC, but we are using the different method. Just now, the past hash attack is different, where this is not persistent. If we use golden ticket and silver ticket, that is persistent. This, if you close the console just now, there's a one new console pop up, right? If you close it, then you need to request again. Then if you close it, then you need to request again. But if golden ticket, if you didn't purge it, you didn't purge the ticket, you may access it whenever you want. And one ticket, I believe the expired date is 10 years, right? Yeah, you can see here. Oh, never mind. You see it from the slide. So you can see lifetime here. This is a previous ticket that I generated when I was building the lab. You can see June 14. 2022 to June 11, 2032. So one ticket is the lifetime is 10 years. If you didn't purchase it, you can have the persistence to access the directory. So that's how we use golden ticket attack. And then silver ticket. Okay, we log off and log in again. We do the same thing, start process, PowerShell, verb, run as. Yes, this can close it. Go back to tools and Mimikatz. Yep, here. Okay. And then lab 7, the silver ticket. So silver ticket, we are using a service to forge the silver ticket. So service we are going to use at this lab will be the CIFS. If anyone don't know what is CIFS, you can see here, this is a common internet file system. It's a protocol for the file sharing protocol for Windows, and it's present in Windows, Linux, and Unix. So we are using this CIFS service to forge a silver ticket. And then you can see here, silver ticket is harder to detect because it doesn't communicate with DC or KDC. If we see back this diagram here, we can see the client, if we are doing golden ticket, right? We need to encrypt the hash of the Kirby TGT with the KDC, right? We communicated with KDC. So it's noisier than forging a silver ticket. While we're forging a silver ticket, we just need this step 5. So we are not communicating with KDC. So it's much more silent, and it's much more undetectable. For the golden ticket, which consists of step 3 and 4, because it consists of using the Kirby TGT hash to encrypt the TGT, and it has the more likely to detect you are doing the attack. So we are doing this silver ticket right now. And if we do it again, the ls server dc evil corp local c $, you can see access is denied again. We go to Mimikatz, not Mimsys, Mimdrive, Mimikatz. Let us construct the ticket. Okay, so Kerberos, we're using Kerberos module. We are still using golden. There is no silver command for that. If you search for this, Kerberos, you can see there's only golden. There is no silver command here. We're using this. We are using back the same thing. So we specify the domain evilcorp.local, and then the seed, the domain seed here, and the target. The target would be the server dc.evilcorp.local. This is what we are going to our target. And then service would be CIFS. And the RC4. The RC4 here, we are using the RC4 of the RC4 is the NTM hash. So we are using this file server DC file service hash that I posted just now. So we copy this and paste it here. And then username, you can type whatever username. Let's say test1234. And then we are using PTT. We are using it in this session. You can copy this and paste it here. And then we can see that golden ticket for test1234 is successfully submitted for current session. If we exit the Mimikatz, we access the same thing again. We can see we are able to access. Just now denied, and right now we are able to access. If you do type flag, oops, type flag. Yeah, you can see we are able to read the file. Yeah, that's all for the silver ticket, and this is the last lab. So yeah, here's the pass the hash attack versus the silver and golden ticket, right? So what's the difference? Like I said just now, pass the hash attack is not persistent. If the current PowerShell session or CMD session is closed, attack will need to execute the attack again. Oops, this is user. User will need to execute the attack again. And then the silver and golden ticket, and it is persistent as long as the ticket is not expired or purged by the users. And what's the difference between the silver ticket versus golden ticket? Silver ticket is actually encrypted using the service account hash that we just now use this one, the server DC file service hash. If you are exploiting MySQL, you need to get the MySQL service hash. For this case, we are using the file service hash. So encrypt using the service account hash, and then get less detected because does not communicate with the KDC. If the golden ticket, right, if encrypt using the Kirby TG hash, more likely to be detected because communicated with the KDC itself. And then yeah, back to the question that there's an audience that asks to how do we start to attack? Do we actually, was it? Let me scroll back. Forgot what's the question. Yeah, the AD is attacked from inside, is it? Is it AD is attacked from inside? Yeah. If you see here, we have external recon. This is a process of post-exploitation, right? We have external recon, then we have compromised machine. And then we are here, actually, we start from here. Let's say we all have a credential for this PC1, right? Let's say that PC1 is the compromised machine. And then you need to do the internal recon that we do just now. What's the domain of this? What's the domain name of this domain? And all the bunch of other recon that we need to do. And then we need to do local privilege escalation. Actually, we skip all this step. We skip the local privilege escalation. We all should have the administrator rights to execute all the commands to start to attack. So actually we need to go through the internal recon, then local privilege escalation, compromise creds, then admin recon, then RCE, and then we go to the domain admin creds. Once we get the domain admin creds, then we need to execute the RCE, then asset recon, then further doing local privilege escalation. Then this will repeat again and again until whole network is compromised. Then you will do the exfiltration. So yeah, so the lateral movement or pivoting, we can see, let's say if is the attacker and she compromised the server A. So this is a compromised system, server A. And then let's say that when she discover and scan and discover, she found out that server X is able to be compromised. Then from there, you do lateral movement to compromise this system. And then from there, you discover again and again to discover other server and compromise it until the whole network is compromised. So that's how actually post-exploitation works. It is that's why we say post-exploitation, right? It's not something like we need to do black box testing and then we need to find vulnerability. There's the other topic. There's a pen testing topic. This is a post-exploitation. This is a red teaming process. And yeah, that's all for the sharing for today. Anybody have any question? I'd be gladly to answer. Is any of the lab you guys understand? If you don't understand, I can explain it again to clarify your confusion. Full training. At the moment, I don't think I will have a full training, but if in the future, maybe full training is not planned yet. Yeah, in the future, yeah, maybe we will have one. Who knows? Can I see the silver ticket verification command again? Yeah, sure. Why not? You mean the verification? Is it you mean this one? Is it this one? Is it this verification? Okay, yeah, here you go. Yeah, fun fact that if you are using host, right? You're using this host, this, wait, F7. Yeah, this host, right? Why we are not doing host service is because that it eats a lot of resources. What we need to do is we need to put a reverse shell scheduler to the DC server, and then we need to call the scheduler to execute the command. Then we grab the reverse shell to access to pop a new shell again. So that would take a lot of resources. That's why we are going for the CIFS service. We are not going for the host service. But you may try, no problem. This server is up until maybe 1 week time, maybe, or maybe until tomorrow. I'm not sure because I'm using student account. So there will be credit limit, maybe until Sunday night. Yeah. Yeah. Any more question? Oh yeah, type server DC record you can access, but you type the IP you can access, right? Because the ticket I believe is using the URL is not. Let me just it's the same concept like this. If you are using this, right? Let's say log off. Because it does not use the IP to access if using the ticket. It's using the URL, the server DC dot, not URL, the server, the host name. You can use the IP. Can we get this slide by any chance? Yeah, sure. I can post it, but I'm not sure how can I send you guys. Maybe organizer can email it. Yeah, sure, no problem. I will email it to Rehack. No problem. Is this attack work on Windows 11? Yes, as long as the environment is a AD environment, the Active Directory environment, it's possible. Not possible. It's a, how to say, it will work. This training was when we get initial access. I'm not quite get what you mean. This training was when we get initial access to the AD environment. But yeah, we are here. Let me draw. We are actually here. When we start to compromise the, we are start attacking to do post exploitation. We are here. We are at the compromise machine. Yeah. Yeah, and also in real world scenario, right? It's not that easy. We can access it like this. We can, how to say, we can dump the hash so easy like this, and then suddenly we successfully compromise the DC administrator, then the whole DC is compromised. It's not this easy because there are a lot of IPS, the intrusion protection, right? And then the AMSI, the MSI, and other policy that would apply. The AMSI, active directory, yeah. You can check it out, this AMSI, the Active Directory Security. So how Do we have any documentation? Let me find. Don't have any full documentation. Yeah, there's a lot of things we need to consider when we're attacking. So it's not that easy to perform an AD attack. And then when we run wickets, right? Let me show you one thing. Let me log in to the RDP. One moment, give me a moment. Here's my creds. Yeah, here's the AMZ documentation here. Let me send it to the chat. You can read it. What's the purpose of this AMZ, and then how to bypass it, and so on. So let me show you this. Why we can so easily importing these mimikatz is because before the lab started, right? Oops, the PowerShell. Defender. I already disable the real-time protection and everything here. So that's why we can smoothly go through our lab that easily. Normally this protection will be on. Yeah, it will be on. So if you get the, let's say you have the admin account, right, of the system, right? What you can do is you can do set MP preference and disable real-time monitoring to true. That's how you disable it through because it's already disabled, I think. So it shows error. Because yeah, you can disable it like this if you have administrator rights. Normally when we are attacking AD, you won't you won't likely to get a desktop like this. You would only get a PowerShell like this. So it's more real, I think. And also last disclaimer, we are not encouraging you to perform any attack to any company or entity. FBI knock on your door, that's not my responsibility. Everything is for education purposes. Yeah, do you guys have any more questions? We are at 10:52. We have 8 more minutes. If there's no question, we can end early. I don't know.